All right, so I see other people popping in. Today we're talking about masculine and feminine nouns in Spanish, okay? And this is very important because even the adjectives in Spanish have to be in agreement with hola todos, hola Wilna. All right. Even the adjectives in Spanish have to be in agreement with the gender of the noun. So this is a very, very important topic. Okay. So as you can see on the board, nouns that end in ez, a, sion, sion otra vez, dad, and dad are typically feminine. Okay. So for example, the Spanish word rapidity is rapidez, right? And therefore, it's going to be la rapidez, okay? For example, I'm looking in the room. Mm, casa. Casa ends with an A. Most words that end with an A are feminine. Okay, so la casa, la casa. And then we have sion, educación, which is a cognate because it looks exactly like, well, almost exactly like education in English. It ends with sion, so we say la educación, la educación. And then ascensión, la dad, like facultad is faculty in Spanish. So we would say la facultad o la oportunidad. Oportunidad ends with DAD, so we say la oportunidad. So all of those would be considered feminine. We have some exceptions to the rule. For example, la mano, your hand, it ends with an O, but it's feminine. Okay. We have la radio, which also ends with an O, but it's feminine. Okay. So if we're talking about the radio and we want to say the radio, what can we use to describe the radio now? We could say the red radio. All right. Because radio is la radio, then to say red radio, we would say la radio roja. Rojo is red, but because radio is feminine, we would also have to make roja feminine. So the red radio es la radio roja. Okay. Other exceptions, el problema. That's problem, right? It ends with an A, but it's very much masculine. So if we're saying a serious problem, then we would say un problema serio, because problema is masculine, so we would not change serio to seria. All right. And then el clima, which is the climate, is also masculine. Okay. So la mano, la radio, el problema, el clima. These are all exceptions to that rule. Okay. And then we have the masculine category. Nouns that typically end in O are usually masculine. Okay. And then if they end in aje, for example, el mensaje, then they're also going to be masculine. So el mensaje is the message. Ends in he, so, or aje rather, so we say el mensaje. Drawing blanks. But just know that most words that end with consonants, they are masculine. You do have to watch out for those exceptions, however. All right. So now I have a bit of practice for you. And the first word is casa. Casa. Is casa masculine or feminine? Put your answers in the chat. Gracias, Blandy. Valor. That would be one of the words. Okay. Is casa masculine or feminine? Put your answers in the chat. Would you say el casa or la casa? Okay, it's masculine, so you would say no. No, not for casa. Casa is feminine, so you would say la casa or una casa if you want to say a house. Okay, so the pretty house, la casa bonita, right? or the red house, la casa roja, because casa is feminine. So everything else that pertains to it has to be feminine as well. Now we have the word caso. Caso. Okay. Is caso masculine or feminine? Blandy says masculine. That is correct. Okay. Because again, the rule says most words that end in o are masculine. So caso is the Spanish word for case, right? Like a law case or whatever kind of case. But then you have the expression hacer caso, which means to pay attention. So that's an expression you can add to your vocabulary books. But caso by itself is masculine. Okay, so there's a Spanish show called Caso Cerrado. I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube, but that's the thing. It's a closed case, un caso cerrado. So the adjective has to be in agreement with the word. All right. La próxima palabra es la palabra naranja, which is the Spanish for orange. Naranja. Is naranja masculine or feminine? And when you're putting your answers in the chat, please put el naranja or la naranja so we can see and you can get that practice in as well. Okay. Any takers? Naranja, masculine or feminine? Okay, so la naranja, yes. Watch out for that spelling though, Bethany. It's N-A. I should spell it in Spanish so you get that practice as well. So it's N-A-R-A-N-J-A. Naranja. Okay. So that spelling has to be correct. But yes, it is feminine. Okay. So if we're talking about delicious orange, we would say una naranja deliciosa. Una naranja deliciosa. All right. And by now, hopefully you've learned that the way to say the, and I covered this in one of my videos as well, is either el or los or la or las, right? So, el chico, the boy, los chicos, the boys, la chica, the girl, las chicas, the girls. But the way to say a or an is un or una. So if it's a delicious orange, we say una naranja deliciosa. All right. Bueno, continuemos. La próxima palabra es la palabra ritmo. Ritmo. And I'll put it on the board so you can see it. Y esta palabra en español significa rhythm. Rhythm. Let me move to the side. Ritmo. Is it masculine or feminine? Okay, muy bien. El ritmo. El ritmo. It is masculine. All right. Next, we have nación, which is the Spanish word for nation. Nación. Is this masculine or feminine? Ooh, that's a lot of letters, Blandy. Well, yes, you are correct. Sería la nación. La nación. Okay, so the United Nations are las Naciones Unidas. Las Naciones Unidas. All right. And as you can see on the board, nación ends with C-I-O-N, so it is going to always be feminine. Okay. All right. Next word, cama, which is the Spanish for bed. Spanish for bed, cama, is that masculine or feminine? Okay, perfecto. La cama. All right. It ends with an A, so it's kind of easy to assume that it is feminine. But again, don't think that there are no words that end with A that are not masculine. Because as we see with problema and clima, those are two of the exceptions. All right. So sí, la cama es femenina. All right. La próxima palabra es la palabra marcador. Marcador. I'll put it on the board. All right. And marcador is exactly what I have in my hand. Lo que tengo en la mano. Okay. Marcador. ¿Es masculino o femenino? El marcador. Muy bien. So if I'm talking about the red marker, although this marker is black, then I would say el marcador rojo no funciona. The red marker does not work. Pero el marcador negro sí funciona. All right. So yes, the black marker does work, pero el marcador rojo no funciona. All right. And that's a very good thing that I can point out to you as well. In Spanish, you have two different verbs to express work. You have trabajar and you have funcionar. Okay. Trabajar is like labor, what you do for a living, where you work, that type of work, right? So, yo trabajo en una universidad. Ella trabaja en un hospital, right? But when you're saying that something does not work, like el marcador, it's a thing, right? So we would say it does not work in saying el marcador no funciona. So we use funcionar in that case when we're saying that something does not function. All right. So those are two verbs in Spanish that equal to work. Okay. All right. Good job so far. The next word is celular. 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 Is that masculine or feminine? Celular. El celular. Muy bien, Francis. Muy bien. El celular. So, based on what I just taught you about the difference between trabajar and funcionar, ¿cómo se diría? How would you say? ¿Cómo se diría en español? The cell phone doesn't work, or my cell phone doesn't work. Today I published a video on those possessive adjectives like my, your, his, her, etc. Please watch it. It will serve you well. But how would you say my cell phone doesn't work in Spanish? Anybody wants to give it a try? My cell phone, and we have the word for cell phone here, doesn't work. How would you say that in Spanish? All right, so Blandy says, mi celular no está funcionando. Well, that would be my cell phone isn't working, which is the present progressive tense. But we want a simple present sentence. My cell phone doesn't work. So Bethany dice, mi celular no funciona. Perfecto. Frances, funciona es con U. So it's funcionar. And therefore, mi celular no funciona with a U. Okay? Thank you all for trying. Very good. All right. La próxima palabra es la palabra escritorio. Escritorio, que significa desk. Un escritorio, a desk. ¿Eso es masculino o femenino? All right. Masculino, sí. It ends with a no. Kind of easy to identify, right? So el escritorio es mío. The desk belongs to me, it's mine. El escritorio sí es masculino. Masculino. All right. So we have, tenemos la palabra computadora. Computadora. Eso sería masculino o femenino. All right, so Blandy said el escritorio es mío. Perfecto. Computadora. All right. La computadora es femenina. Okay, muy bien. La computadora. So if we want to say the black computer doesn't work, how would we express that in Spanish? The black computer doesn't work. Computadora sí es femenina, entonces decimos la computadora. Pero ¿cómo diríamos the black computer doesn't work? Sí, sí, ama, eso es correcto. Anybody. The black computer doesn't work. Ooh, perfecto, Blandy. Oh, no, it's not perfect. You would say, yes, Wilna, la computadora negra no funciona. Because as you know, sí, come, right? As you know, we just put no before the verb to form the negative in Spanish. La computadora negra no funciona. The black computer does not work. Okay. All right. Very good, everybody. The last thing I want us to do, I'm going to read, I'm sorry, I'm going to read a passage to you in Spanish. And I'm going to ask you some questions in Spanish as well and ask you to put your answers in the chat. Yes, Francis, very good. La computadora negra no funciona. Okay. All right. So let's go with the passage. Dice, me llamo María Sánchez. Tengo 19 años. Nací en Málaga, pero vivo en Barcelona. Soy estudiante de primer curso de periodismo. De lunes a viernes me levanto a las 7:30, desayuno y camino hasta la universidad. Okay. Entro en clase a las 9 y salgo a la 1. All right. So we're going to go back over that and then I'm going to have some questions for you. Me llamo María Sánchez. Tengo 19 años. Nací en Málaga, pero vivo en Barcelona. Soy estudiante de primer curso de periodismo. De lunes a viernes me levanto a las 7:30, desayuno y camino hasta la universidad. Entro en clase a las 9 y salgo a la 1. All right. So now some questions for you. ¿Cómo se llama la estudiante? ¿Cómo se llama la estudiante? Please write me a complete sentence. Her name is. Note takers? All right, so I'm going to read it quickly once again and hope you will catch on to the answer. Dice, me llamo María Sánchez, tengo 19 años, nací en Málaga, pero vivo en Barcelona. Soy estudiante de primer curso de periodismo. ¿Cómo se llama la estudiante? Ma. You're missing some letters. Ok, Blandy dice, ella se llama María Sánchez. Perfecto. Ok, ella se llama María Sánchez. Ok, muy bien. All right. La próxima pregunta dice, ¿dónde vive María Sánchez? ¿Dónde vive María Sánchez? Ella vive en Barcelona. Muy bien. ¿Ok? O podemos decir también que María Sánchez vive en Barcelona. But once we've established that we're talking about María Sánchez, there's no need to keep saying María Sánchez, María Sánchez. Podemos reemplazar su nombre. We can replace her name con ella, right? So ella vive en Barcelona. All right. La próxima pregunta, bueno, mejor dicho, voy a leer la comprensión otra vez y quiero que respondan después. So I'm going to read it again just to refresh your memories, and then I'm going to ask you another question about the next paragraph. It says, de lunes a viernes me levanto a las 7:30, desayuno y camino hasta la universidad. Entro en clase a las 9 y salgo a la 1. All right. Entonces la pregunta dice, ¿a qué hora se levanta María Sánchez? ¿A qué hora se levanta? Remember that the verb levantarse is reflexive, so we would need to put se after ella. ¿A qué hora se levanta María? Ella se levanta a las 7 en la mañana. No, Blandy, you're almost right. Anybody else? Yes, levanta is with an A. So let me read it again quickly. Dice, de lunes a viernes me levanto a las 7:30, desayuno y camino hasta la universidad. ¿A qué hora se levanta María Sánchez? Ok, muy bien, Francis. Ella se levanta a las 7:30. A las 7:30. All right. Perfecto. La última pregunta dice, ¿a qué hora sale de la clase? ¿A qué hora sale de la clase? Y dice la lectura, entro en clase a las 9 y salgo a la 1. ¿A qué hora sale de la clase, María? And salir means to leave. That's also covered in the video posted today, the conjugation of salir, which is an irregular verb. ¿A qué hora sale María de la clase? No. So here's the trick. Even though one is uno, when we're talking about the time, you'll find that numbers have genders too. All right. So ella sale a la 1 at 1 o'clock. Because time, which is la hora, is feminine, then we would say ella sale a la 1. All right. So she leaves at 1 o'clock. So that's the end of today's lesson. Please keep practicing. Invite someone to join you. In another couple of weeks, when I feel like we've covered enough material, I'm going to invite you guys to join me on Google Meets, where you can actually get to speak and practice your conversation. It won't be for very long because obviously these things are time consuming, but I truly wish to help as many people as possible become fluent. So I'm going to invite a couple of my Spanish speaking students, and I'll be there as well to kind of moderate. And you'll be able to unmute and respond orally so that you can develop your conversational skills. All right. Bueno, gracias a ustedes y nos vemos el próximo domingo. Okay, see you next Sunday.